Okay, welcome back. We are about to deal with our injury crisis. So I think in regards to the keeper, that's pretty straightforward. It's just fixed. But in regards to the two MCs is a problem. Both down together, and it's actually not a short-term situation, which is worth bearing in mind here. In regards to, I guess, how much effort we put into fixing this, so to speak, because it is for the next 5 matches till we get one of them back. So it's quite a ways to play through. Basically, what I'm saying is, in a roundabout way, it is a situation that does make sense for us to potentially play a few friendlies to try to. Certainly, if it was the case that it was like proper league matches that count, this is definitely a situation where we cannot, with our playing stuff that we have, we cannot deal with this injury and not change our tactic at all, pretty much, or at least we could, but it would, we're going to have to bring in really bad players from our youth team to deal with it, and that could totally make sense to do that. We could choose to do that, but on the same note, we've got some really high quality, high-ish relative quality. We could play 2 strikers. We've got this extra AMC who's good, so we could potentially, at the end of the day, like, sometimes it's better to have. Sometimes quality beats efficiency, something like that. It could be better to change our formation to be less efficient, but to just run with higher quality players. That could be the case. We'll just have a quick look at what our options are, and then we'll make a decision. So I think one is that, like, we're okay running this a Creek guy in the box-to-box midfielder role. If we had a really good other box-to-box midfielder, we'd also be happy to run him in the like attacking midfielder role as a temporary thing. That'd be fine as well. So straight away, I'll just put him in the box to box because we know we're totally fine with that. We do have our left midfielder back at this point, so we can switch that back as well. At this point, I think we know probably that we're okay to have that left. Probably instead of the left winger on the bench, but we're okay. Let's just deselect him so we remember not that we don't need him. We're probably okay to have that left back on the bench now, now that we know that that's a tactical option we have to close matches out. So now we're left basically that we've got this guy injured. So option number one is that we just put this guy on. Now he probably is okay, to be honest. At least, he's not lots of deficiencies, but at the end of the day, what we really want from him is really good long shots. Well, it's good enough, and good passing and vision, which is good. So at the end of the day, we probably will just run with this guy and not complicate everything too much and just play the matches. And it does basically now mean we do need a backup MC. Certainly, no matter what, no matter how bad they are, we want one on the bench. If for no other reason, that when we're winning a match, we can sub off this Creek guy for a different MC so that he doesn't get injured. Because the last thing we need now is him getting injured as well. So it becomes really, really important that we have an MC on the bench for that reason alone. So I think it's probably just going to be this guy. Won't even bother checking too much what he can do. I will just have a quick look now, just so we know. So he can, so he's not really that ideal for either role. But at the end of the day, it's, like I said, that's not the reason he's here. He's here because there's no one else, basically. So let's just throw him on the bench. And now we're ready to just roll with it pretty much. I think. So we're good to go, I think. I'm not sure. I did play a whole bunch of friendlies before. I'll just hit find so we start finding. But one thing that we did do, which we were testing a lot of different things and ended up like a lot of failed experiments. Maybe some of these friendly match videos will end up getting uploaded, but not sure about that. There's a lot of them, so But we ended up changing this guy to deep line playmaker. It just worked better overall. I mean, one, he's got good passing and whatever, and his tackling isn't that good anyway for the destroy role. But two, it just meant that he he just came up to support the attacks a bit more, which was good because all these guys end up basically high up, and to have another guy that's he is back, but he's close enough that he can be involved situationally, whereas as the destroyer was just a little bit too far back, typically speaking, to be able to even situationally support the attacks. So, and also there was a space issue because we it made the transitions for the other team a little bit harder with him a little bit further up than him further back, because we already had plenty of cover further back because there's 3 central defenders behind him anyway. So we're okay to basically expand the space between the DMC and the DC and close the space between the DMC and the rest of our team. Basically it also improved the transitions we had from attacking to defending. It slowed down the other team a little tiny bit more, typically, and gave all of our other players a little bit more chance to get back. So one good sign there is potentially that their attacking player on that side isn't super fast, which means that the really slow speed for my defender there is not as big of an issue as what it otherwise might be. You can kind of see he's obviously faster, but he's not that much faster, if you know what I mean. So, and again, he ended up picking the ball and he's got a bit more space now. He's coming in. That's not good. Yeah, straight away. You could just tell it wasn't good. So, yeah. Okay. We had decent chances ourselves, by the way, which I was too busy talking to acknowledge, but our chance flow is decent. We are sort of, if you want to say, quote unquote, unlucky to be losing. Although their chance that we gave up for them is not the type of chance we want to be giving up at all. It is a type of chance though that the offset of the DMC would have stopped, and that's probably worth bearing in mind. If he was offset to that side, or like we did in the last match, it would have stopped that type of chance from happening. And maybe that is to be honest, that was a really good chance, and we've ended up scoring. I mean, it's just a tap in. Any striker could have scored that, but yeah. I might offset it, to be honest, because they did score at the end of the day from that chance. They'd probably think you could argue that it is worth trying to prevent that type of chance, at least in this match. And I think generally speaking, as long as that DC is that slow, he is, at the end of the day, no matter how good his tackling is, it's ultimately exploitable because he's just so slow. And I think another argument, I just wonder, I'm going to do that for now, but I also just wonder if this might be generally good for our attacking play anyway. Not sure. I'd have to see. Let's just do it and pay attention, not from the perspective of the defending, but from the perspective of the attacking. What difference that makes. It does it feels like it makes the tactic more asymmetrical, but in reality, potentially it makes it even actually more symmetrical. I can explain why in a second. We'll do it at halftime. I mean, defensive symmetry anyway. The thing is, the timing matters. For our tactic, we've got a lot of moving parts, so when you're talking about how symmetrical things aren't, it really matters. When are you talking about exactly, like during which transitions, attacks, defending, like at which stage during defending and attacking, and so on. So it definitely matters for that. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. It's gonna be easy to explain it with the tactics diagram in front of us, basically. And for now, I'd say even with that offset, it's not like we're sort of stopping any attacks coming down the right. They're still happening. We're just pushing them that little bit wider, which is what we want. It seems, or just generally feels like the left side is less, is sufficiently less appetizing to them anyway. That the idea, like, that we're not giving up too much, basically, on this side, because this is not coming down the side at all anyway. So basically moving the DMC across has helped this side a bit, and it doesn't seem to really cost us much on this side. And the other thing that it does is that because he is a deep lying playmaker and the defenders will look to give the ball to him, it basically means that there's more chance that our attacks are going to come down this side, because the very first pass that's starting the build-up of the attack is coming from, like, not here, but from this side. We've had created quite a bit. I'll quickly talk about this now, and then we'll focus on trying to win the match. So basically, like, because he's here, if you think about it, the ball-winning midfield is going to come back to here. So when this guy actually does finally get back, he's like here, right? So that becomes more defensively symmetrical when he gets back. Obviously, up until the point that he's back, it is less symmetrical for now. But then obviously, if he's in the middle, if you think about it, when he eventually gets back now, it's less symmetrical. So it depends, right? This is what I'm saying. It depends when you're talking about. It's either more symmetrical defensively or less symmetrical defensively, depending on when you're talking about. So, but I think for now, we'll roll with this, and we'll just try and pay attention. Now, it's not the fact that he's here and we're encouraging more of the attacking play to flow through here than what is already being encouraged to flow through here. That is not necessarily a good thing. It could be, but it might not be. I'm saying it like it's definitely a good thing, and that may not be the case. It may totally be the case that we're happy for some attacks to go through the left for various reasons, including, for example, if there's a mismatch, like our left winger here is just way better than their fullback. I guess the other thing we need to bear in mind that we've got our backup keeper as well. So the shot that they scored from, they may not have scored from if we had our starting keeper. And that one as well is that's another spot. They may not have scored that one. In fact, that's probably a better example of a goal they may not have scored. There's some nice build-up, but yeah. And exactly the guy that we didn't want to get injured got injured. I mean, that's another thing we need to bear in mind here, that our personnel is extremely compromised in this match. I think that's the reason. What we're going to do is we're just going to try the long ball, to be honest, because to some degree, like, our attacking build-up is just naturally compromised because we don't have very good central midfielders. So let's just try and bypass them with long ball and see if that helps. If they had scored that, we might have just been thinking about cutting our losses sort of thing and trying to avoid any more injuries. But because they didn't score, we're not going to do that just yet. We'll bring on the faster striker. Now at this point, because we're chasing a match, it doesn't even make sense to bring that left back on. I think we just got to stick with the left midfielder. Unfortunately, as long as it's the case that we're in the game, so to speak, we have to risk that, that he might get injured. We can't. We've got to play some players at the end of the day. So yeah, it's not good. That's the problem when we're doing that long ball sort of thing. We're not giving our other players a chance to catch up, our box-to-box midfielder and stuff. So the attack isn't really that well supported. Hopefully this one might end up with some support. Okay, he's got fouled. We need to save our third sub probably for Dokken here. Oh, it was a good shot. Okay. This might be a chance. It is. There we go. And it's our striker. He's got really good assertion on him, so it's like he's got 80-something aerial ability, so that was very good. We may win this yet. Now I think that we are back in the game. Like, there is an argument to do a more defensive substitution for like this Oktay guy, but I think at the moment we are encouraging the play down the right. These two tied guys are on the left. I think we just persist with that. I'll just check if this guy, the aerial ability, he's 56. The guy that we would bring on is 28. So for now, we'll just wait till hopefully we defend the set piece. And then we'll do the sub after. Okay. So we'll do it now. Okay. Oh no, what a chance. Do we... I'm not sure we'll get a better chance than that. Hopefully we will. I'd say, yeah, I mean, we definitely, like, done enough to win. I guess you could say that. We may win yet. There's still time here. We're creating enough. Obviously, we're going to have to score it, which arguably involves a bit of luck at least, but I wouldn't give up just yet. I'm going to pause actually because this is a moment. No, I didn't catch it, unfortunately. I've got to do it quite a bit in advance to catch it because how far I am from the server. But it would have been a good time to have changed the closing down because of just the general condition of all of our players. Like, they're all either already tired or they're far from threshold for the matter. Not so much this guy anymore, but I think on the whole it's probably worth at the very least just changing it to like, oh, it already was balanced. We already changed it. Okay. Might change. I mean, outside of that, in the general tactics we started, I think in the testing we were just wondering what difference it was going to make for us in regards to the overall condition loss and in regards to the how much it helped us to defend. So I've probably had it on for a while now. Alright, so this is it. We either lose or we win. They're going to get one more attacking play, and then that is it. Okay. Well, it would have been disappointing to lose then. We could have. Also, we did create enough to win. I'm not going to stress too much about how much this result does or doesn't mean, because I think we did create loads. We easily could have won. And we are in the midst of a massive injury crisis. So, yeah, I don't think should stress too much about that one, basically. So we now have another, man, what does this look like even? So a Krieg, so he's only down for 2, so at least they're a bit staggered. One's down for 2, one's down for 4, one's down for 6. So we will get some help back after 2 matches, but now we really are like, we're going from this being like quite a bit worse to being just like way worse now, the quality here. So how much do we really want to persevere with this tactic? Like, this guy isn't really going to help length the play up at all, but he can get up and back, and if he gets a chance, he might be able, I mean, he's not all bad. I think the work rate being low is bad. The endurance, he's going to have to come off as well. If we start him, he is much more suited for us to be an emergency backup, to be honest. Going back into the youth squad just to see if there's some... We do have a lot of central midfielders, so perhaps there's something we overlooked. He's already in the team. So there's this guy. He probably will end up being the sub, but the other guy probably would start, probably. But I doubt we got anything better than him. Yeah, nope. Nope. And I imagine nope. Yeah, definitely nope. So let's just add this guy to the senior squad. We could add a position to a player. Like, for example, I think this guy could be the MC in the middle. Fine. Like, we could add him and then we could play the other guy. That's one option. Another option is not good at all either, but we could just move him to here and just put the other guy in. And in the end, I think we're just going to do that. Just because, like I said before, yes, it's not good for lots of reasons. Like, it disrupts our triangles, it disrupts the flow, and it'll disrupt a lot of things. But at the end of the day, like, we get to put a quality player in instead. So I think at the end of the day, like, that's just going to trump everything else here. I'll just confirm that. There's an issue with this guy as the box-to-box, that he's just super slow. It's going to take his time getting up and back. But I think whatever, he probably ends up being in anyway. And then we just end up with this guy on the bench in AMC. So now we're starting with 2. One of them may need to come off. So I think we are okay. We'll leave him as the attacking midfielder role to try to keep it as similar as what we reasonably can. But I think this is the move. Now, again, this is exactly the type of situation where if these were league matches next season, we would definitely be trying to friendlies and stuff at this point to work out something that the best that we can do with the team we have. But for now, we're just going to jump straight in. Because at this point, we're in a big enough injury crisis, for example, like, it could just make sense to start both of these strikers and just, revert to some kind of different fundamental tactic, basically. Just do something different. And it probably would be the case, by the way. That's like, at the end of the day, like, we're just missing too much out of central midfield. We would be better off just to do some different tactic. Almost certainly. I'm gonna go in. Do we catch it? Closing down. Back off. Confirm. I'm not sure if we'll catch it in time. We'll be close. At this point, it's just we're in such an injury crisis that we need our players to not get tired pretty much in this match. Oh, great chance. It's a very good chance for them. It was down our left, which we bear in mind. It could end up. I didn't check the stats. I probably should have quickly checked the stats from the last match. It would have been curious to have known how much we ended up removing our left midfielder from the play last game. But at the end of the day, like those two central midfielders were really weak, and even weaker this game. So it wasn't really. It was kind of just like byproduct of moving that left midfielder. I guess the question is, should we have just put the left back on as well and just purposely just removed that whole thing altogether and made ourselves more defensively stable? Probably is the answer, and that's why we should be playing those friendly matches. Okay. Oh, he's a bit lucky. Alright, I'm just going to pause. I kind of feel like there's quite a, generally speaking, there's like oodles of space for us to exploit. And they're a bit top heavy. I mean, we're top heavy as well, but they're a bit top heavy, I feel. Like all of their midfielders joining the attack generally, so they've just got the 4 defenders back and that's it. No, and this is done. Right, yeah. So kind of what I feel like we just want to try and exploit. Just trying to launch the ball up, and again, just bypass what these are now the weak and non-existent midfielder. We probably should have just had this on since the start, to be honest, because of how weak our midfield is now. And possibly we should just be removing the reins from the left midfielder and just not asking, because there's a lot we should do. Let's pause it and hope we don't concede in the meantime. Yeah, that's such a shame, because we just had made too many mistakes in his tactic, and we deserve to concede that pretty much. Right, so I think he should be attacking winger as well, and he shouldn't be that. He should be central midfielder, because he's got low work rate. He's awesome. He's slow, and he can't get up and back. And it's happening. It's going up and back way too fast anyway. He's just running around, catching up to everything, never doing anything. So at least this way, like and honestly, I think we might as well just go symmetrical at this point. And give ourselves the best opportunity to spray all the attacks as much as possible on the long balls, because we are losing at the end of the day. So it's better to try to increase our chances to score a goal at this point, even if that means that we have also increased chances of conceding another goal. It's just better. better to do that, pretty much. Pretty good lesson in the weaknesses in a way of this whole setup though, with because without the fullbacks there's just loads of space down the flanks to generally exploit, and they're doing a pretty good job of that, quite frankly. It's just sort of all this space, and yeah, it's giving us problems, but at the end of the day we still are only losing by 1 goal, so as long as you're only losing by 1, there's always a chance, no matter how bad things seem. You can flip that around, by the way. If you're only winning by 1 goal, then you can always lose. You can always not win, no matter how good things may seem. Yes, it's just a real problem, this guy. In a way, we are just wanting to get to half-time without conceding, and yeah. It's a real problem, this match now. We don't really have scope to sort of... We're just really limited in what we can do, because there's nothing that we can do to try to control the play through the middle just because of the injury crisis. So there is things that we can try, but at the end of the day, controlling the match is not one of them, right? So I think the main thing we can try is 2 strikers, pretty much, and I imagine that involves sacrificing one of these AMCs. So we could either do that immediately, and maybe we should, because we do have to score 2 goals here. We have to bear that in mind. We got a lot of catching up to do, so let's do it now. And then this guy, I think, can just be creative forward, maybe. So yeah, we're pretty top heavy here. Sort of a big understatement, but I think now we're kind of all in on the fact that we got 2 fast forwards up there, and hoping that we can we're not going to get a lot of shots, I don't think, but we might get some really good chances, like this, for example. That's a shame. We really needed that. I mean, it could be quite up and back. We'll see. It could make quite a big, because with their marking assignments, because they only have the 4 back, right? So basically, because we've got 2 strikers, both of their DCs are now. Yeah, we do have an over. We need to score that. Okay, yeah. I should have thought this through way more. So basically, they only really had the 4 flat back 4 staying back, and now we've got a complete overload, because we've got the 2 strikers taking up their 2 DCs. We've got our left and right midfield are both on attacking roles, so they're going to take up the left and right back. So basically, the 4 defensive players are all naturally marking those players, basically, and we've got a creative forward sitting behind them, basically. So as long as we get the ball up there fast enough for their other midfielders to get back, then we're 5 on 4. So someone's going to be free. Someone's going to be free, and as soon as one tackle is missed or something like that, then 2 players are free. So we should have, luckily we did make this change at the beginning of the half, because it is the type of change that as long as they don't bring back 1 extra player, then this situation will persist, and if it's a human, they may be able to work this out and make the change. But the bot teams, they don't make these changes mid-match. So as long as you can basically work out a tactic that is going to outplay them, then you don't get countered. So here's our 2nd goal. We're in it. And right now I'm even confident that because of that, we will win. Because at the end of the day, yeah, they still probably have the advantage, by the way, on the other end. But the thing is, we have a strong enough advantage on this end that not only does it give us this increased chances to score, but it's also the best possible way we can alleviate pressure on the defense is by just having the ball in our attacking half as much as possible. Yeah, if that fell to him, it would have been a hat-trick, by the way, of goals that were all the same. Just the cross coming in because of we have no fullback, and then it going to the other winger. Alright, get up there. Stay in. Okay. At this point, we're just going to think about whether we make a sub, because we haven't made any. Well, we did. We made the striker, but we still got 2 subs, and there's not long left. So I think one sub we could make would be this defender, just for because at the end of the day, like, we can still obviously lose this match at this point. So we need to be wary of that and make sure if we can help the defense a little bit with a sub like that we do it. I'm just going to pause again because we won't have long left, and we do have one more sub, so we might as well make it. We had some good chances, to be honest. Like, we still could have gone on to win this. We still might. So I think at this point we got 1 sub. It's like, do we sub this guy off? Maybe. We got a bit of time, so let's think. What other choices do we even have? We want to try and win, so that eliminates bringing on the left back. That eliminates. We don't want to sub the MC. Doesn't make sense to sub the aim. So the only sub that makes any sense is either the keeper, which I don't think makes sense because this keeper's really bad, or this guy for this tied guy. That could make sense. Let's just do that. It is a bit of a all or nothing. We're committing more and more to this overload. But by pushing him up, even though it kind of just means that the fullback is going to be even more naturally picking him up. I don't think he's going to be able to do as well off the dribble or anything, but it potentially just gives our strikers a little bit more space who could do something. I mean, the player's just not good enough to do that much, but it might open it up a bit more for these strikers, hopefully. Oh, he's going to get through first. Oh, no, that was the chance. That was the chance. That was a brilliant through ball. Absolutely brilliant. Alright, the keeper's claimed it. I think that's about it, but absolutely we could have won this, and we really didn't look like conceding either. Like, we alleviated so much pressure by all that attacks. The game was looking so bad as well, and totally switched it around. And should have worked that out quicker, to be honest. So that's on us, because I don't know when exactly, but it was during the first half that I picked up on the fact that they had their flat back 4, but none of their midfielders were in defensive, like were in any kind of defense. They had no DMs, and they had neither of their central midfielders were like in a defensive role, and possibly even both of them were attacking roles. They just had no midfield helping the defense at all. And if I had picked up on that sooner, then maybe we make that change sooner. And even if we still only score 2 goals, maybe they didn't score their second goal beforehand, sort of thing. So like at the end of the day, like for all of those changes that all seemed good, at the end of the day, mistakes are still made here, really obvious mistakes, and So for all of it might seem like did some good things in this match, but too slow at the end of the day. I think a lot of that stuff could have been done faster. And then ultimately making the right decision too late is a mistake in and of itself, like on the basis that you made it too late. So yeah, it is good to get a draw, and it's kind of exciting or nice sometimes to make those changes to sort of solve the puzzle and work it out, but we solved it a little bit too late, I guess is what I'm saying. But, from the perspective of winning, we solved it soon enough to not lose and still get a draw, so don't want to downplay it too much. Like, at the end of the day, if you can turn losses into draws and draws into wins, so to speak, then you get way more points. And you could sort of argue that we turned a loss into a draw then. Like, that was feeling like a lost game, pretty much. Like, that was not looking like it was a good situation, to be honest. So, yeah. So there's that. I'll go back to that first game. I'm just curious now with the ML how much we withdrew from the play. So they still had 22 dribble touches, still some parts. So they were still involved anyway. So they weren't withdrawn too much. So yeah, but that game there, like, absolutely could have won that if we just had have worked out stuff faster. And then obviously the other issue is that we just started with some completely unknown something or other that basically didn't really work. So that's something that's worth bearing in mind here as well. We still got these players injured and whatnot. So I don't know what we start with, but if we're going to start with a random formation that's not our regular one, then we shouldn't be starting with this one again. Because I think this here is just bad. It's just not good at all. They're basically, because they're not directly creating threat. Like, a striker is directly creating threat, because if the ball goes over, they can run onto it and they can score, basically. So an extra striker is just extra threat. Whereas this here, it doesn't really pose that threat. It poses threat and build up with the ball, but at the end of the day, like, they're reducing the threat capacity of each other. They're like distributing the threat between them. At the end of the day, the space, the fact that they exist in that space, it makes the space itself threatening, so to speak. So, but you don't need two players there, you only need one. So they're kind of just like doing the same thing. So it's almost like we just deleted a player off. Not quite, obviously, but it's like it's like reduced efficiency. And I know when I put it in here, I said reduced efficiency can be worth the quality, but it seems like in this case, it was true and untrue. It was true, but what we should have done is we should have done is put both the strikers on instead and put him here, basically. Like, what we should have done is what we finished that other match with. And probably we'll just start this match with that, quite frankly, because it works so well. Now, it may not work that well again in the next match, because the other team may be way more balanced and not just have the four defenders, and that's it. But at the end of the day, this is... and obviously change the player to be the striker. But, like, at the end of the day... this has got issues, and it can still be overrun through the middle, but at least it has some clear defined strengths. It is a bit more roll the dicey type formation, but it's better to play a roll the dice formation than it is just to play one that's playing bad, which is that other one. I think once you've got those two players there, it's just the efficiency is just reduced way too much. So we also got a defender injured in that game. I think Klingenberg is now our backup. So we got a little bit of a mini injury crisis happening here, really, and we don't want to. We want this striker on the bench. Kenda, and we don't have anybody back yet either. So we do have to get through some more matches. I'll just put this here. So I don't know. Maybe you still want him as a regular. I don't know. I'll work it out after. I'll just put it to this so we don't forget for the next match. I don't think I'm going to play it just yet. Maybe I will, not sure, but yeah. So some lessons to be learned from that one. That was an interesting one. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you for the next episode.